Hey, Jennifer.
I did.
Okay, sorry, it sort of hiccuped for a second. Chris Frost, new faculty member in Bio5. I'm a plant chemical ecologist.
Yeah, welcome. Dalton.
Hi, I'm a web developer for the public affairs team.
Thanks for being here. Carol. Carol Stum, if I pronounced that correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually with a clinical coordinator with the medical imaging department. And I just
wonderful.
I popped in.
Nice to meet you. Hope? Oops, she just disappeared. See, and then everybody rearranges. So this just, you know, just to make life confusing for me. Let's see, who haven't I called on? Esther.
Find the unmute button first. So I'm Esther Sternberg. I'm Director of Research for the Andrew Weil Center for Integrative Medicine and Director of the Institute on Place Wellbeing and Performance, linking the College of Medicine, Center for Integrative Medicine, and College of Architecture, Planning, and Landscape Architecture, and have worked very happily in different capacities with Jennifer and Bio5 and you guys, I think at least Amy and Elena. So it's great to be here.
Great. Ashley.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Ashley Snyder, new faculty here-ish. I joined in December in nutritional sciences and in Bio5.
Yeah, and you've got a beautiful background and it's even real.
It is.
Awesome. Ashwani?
Hi everyone. I am here research assistant professor at Department of Surgery, and I will be working with Dr. Jason Wertheim at room 302 at Bio5. So I recently joined in March 2020, and then after there was work from home, so we couldn't do research work. So now we are resuming our work, and we will be working with kidney organoids and liver organoids.
Yeah, very great. Welcome. It's nice to see you, more or less.
Thank
see
you.
you virtually, at least. Let's see, Regina.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Regina Ozeda. I'm a project manager at Bio5. I work with our public affairs team.
Great. Sean?
Hi, I'm Sean Caden. I'm the business manager at the Bio5 Institute.
Yeah. Caitlin.
Hi, sorry, I'm joining you guys from my phone. But my name is Caitlin Thomas. I'm in Anita Koshi's lab. I'm her lab manager.
Wonderful. Glad you're here. And one of the good things about it not being in person is that Melissa can join us. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Yeah, so we were just doing quick introductions.
Oh, okay. So you wanted me to introduce myself? Sorry. I just
yes,
joined. Hi, I'm Melissa Herbst-Kralowitz. I'm from up in Phoenix at College of Medicine Phoenix, and I'm in basic medical sciences and cross-appointed in obstetrics and gynecology.
Great. Kelly?
Good morning, all. My name is Kelly Montez, and I am the executive assistant at Bio5.
Okay. And Ann Wertheimer, it looks like you're having a little trouble connecting. If you can, pop in sometime and introduce yourself, that would be great. Lomax? Lomax, you're muted if you're trying to talk. Anyway, Lomax is with the Bio5 IT team. And we have somebody on the phone, a 503 area code. All right, yeah, I know this is always interesting, this type of situation that we're having. And I see Robert Sandoval is joining us. Robert, would you like to introduce yourself right quick?
I'm Robert Sandoval. I'm the facilities manager for Bio5 Institute there. Hi.
I wanted to make sure particularly that people saw Robert because one of the things, this is mostly Q&A, but I just wanted to throw out a couple of points of information. The Institute is up, we're running, we're here to help you. We're not physically present on the Keating building all that much. The exception is that Tara Brenton comes in every Tuesday to sort mail, make sure that things are going fine and check out the office. And either Robert or Mario are always on site to make sure that everything's going okay with the building. I'm in somewhere between 1 and 4 days a week. It just kind of depends on what's going on and whether or not there, if there are experiments going on that I should be present for, I'm in. Otherwise, I'm doing what we can to keep the building, as unoccupied for my students as well. There you are, Lomax.
Hi there. I'm Lomax Boyd, manager of IT, and this is Eddie. We're both on site here. We're at the media facility. The building just went through a network registration conversion. So we're assisting some of the researchers that are here that are having a problem getting on the network. So Eddie and myself and Faye are in rotation for support for researchers that are in the building. We have a support, the ticket system. You can just email support@bio5.org and the team will get the actual ticket. One of the three of us will assist you. So right now we just left the media facility in the basement here, reconnected them to the network. So I think that should do it. We're quite busy. There's a few devices that were not registered, so we're trying to get those online for the building. So.
Yeah, so if you're in the Keating building and you don't have support through, like I get my support through engineering actually, but if you're in the Keating building or BSRL Bio5 space and you need help, Lomax is here to do that. Otherwise, hopefully your own IT people have told you what to expect. So I wanted to ask, how many people are actually conducting research, laboratory research right now? I think most of you are, right? I hear about that. Yeah, so, one of the things that sitting up at RII, I know that they kind of purposefully left things vague with research reentry because I think they felt like if they tried to dictate something, there were so many edge cases that it caused more panic than it solved. But on the other hand, I kind of felt like we had all of us developing standard operating procedures and guidelines and, trying to figure this all out on our own, 100 different ways, which left it very flexible, but then meant maybe we were all doing an awful lot of work that we maybe could have just borrowed somebody else's stuff from. So, a few months ago, I sent out my own SOPs to the Bio5 people just, as kind of a pattern. And I've actually continued to find those to be pretty successful in my own lab. We have a couple things we do. We have a Google Calendar for the entire lab. So I ask people to sign up as far in advance for when they're going to come in and where they're going to be for what time. And so the way we stated it is that we have occupancy limits for each of the rooms, and it's first come, first serve. And if there's a conflict, like too many people wanting to be in the same room at a time, then we talk with each other and we work it out. So that you do as far in advance as you can, which we're kind of finding to be like maybe 2 days. We'd love it if people could schedule out, but it's really hard to schedule out more than a week. So usually people will get their reservations up there a couple of days in advance. And then I also got a Slack channel, and that's real time. You have to sign in. Everybody in the lab signs in, whether they're working from home or working from the lab, so that we know kind of who's on. And then if you come into the building, you sign in and say you're in the building in a room. If you change rooms or you sign out, for more than just a couple minutes, if you're, going to be gone for an hour for lunch or something like that, then you sign out and sign back in. So that way, at least theoretically, I can check the Slack channel for work, is just what we call it, not very inventive name. And I know exactly who is where real time any moment. And that's been pretty effective, but I would love to hear what you all are doing that you found works to help make it so that your people can be on site effectively and work remotely effectively. So we're a small enough group. I think you can just unmute and talk. If that gets to be a challenge, we can raise hands or something more formal.
Well, we're a smaller, I think we're a smaller group, although we share with John Civic, orthopedic surgery and arthritis. And so that presented a challenge over the summer because they had 5 or 6 undergraduate students whom they wanted to bring into the lab. But we worked out not as sophisticated an online method, but a sign-in book at both doors. There are 2 different doors. And so we set it up so the orthopedic group came in one door, we came in another door, we had one-way movement. We rearranged the stations in the lab so that there is as little need to pass each other as possible. And then we did do the scheduling thing. It was a little easier to do we didn't need to do day-to-day scheduling because the various people in the lab had sort of strict schedules. The surgeons had their days that they operated, and Ray Runyon had his days that he needed to be there because of the kids or not the kid, so it was easier. We didn't have the need for moment-to-moment changes. What we found that was most effective was to have initially once a week a touch base, 10 minutes, see if anybody had any problems. Because when we first started to do this, there was a lot of anxiety. A lot of anxiety about having the young students in there, about the people who were at risk and so on. And are you going to be wearing masks? Are you distancing? And so and it was great because Kent Kuo sort of led the charge and said, let's just have a once a week touch base on Zoom and see if there's any problems. And that really worked out great. And now we're down to once every 2 weeks, and it's just a way to say, hello, how are you?
That's great. So that's really helping with having multiple investigators sharing space.
Yeah, and the anxiety, I think the big thing was the anxiety, and once you establish a routine and you're confident that the other people are going to follow the rules, then the anxiety level dropped tremendously. And I think that was the big issue.
Great. What else have people found to be effective for those who have recently joined? We're just discussing methods of safely working in laboratory on campus and what techniques you've used to know who's where and assure that everybody's working safely.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, please introduce yourself when you start. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Jerzy Rosenblit. Thanks for the opportunity to at least be peripherally part of Bio5. I appreciate the opportunity to interact with this side of campus as well. In fact, I wanted to pick your brains, guys, a little bit too. Sorry I'm late because I just finished my class. We do use some hardware equipment, including surgical robots, and we sort of had to limit stuff to sort of more or less 1 or 2 people in the lab at the most. But what I'm struggling with is that I have a human studies experiment that's already been postponed, obviously, and the sponsor obviously is gracious about it. And I'm just curious how you guys would advise us to handle this. Maybe stretch it in time indefinitely, 1 person at a time or so. It's basically students and medical students who would work with, sort of experiment with a surgical device in a simulated setting. So I wonder if there's any wisdom I could get from you guys as to how you've handled human subject studies.
Yeah, and I sure maybe we should have a whole special session on that because that's really. But Esther, David, you're probably the closest. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I'm just going to give what I've heard from Sai Parthasarathi. I think he's the one who has the best experience, and maybe you should ask him to speak about this at some point. So for those of you who don't know, Sai runs the sleep lab. the sleep center, and the pulmonary ICU. So he's been truly at the front lines. And he suspended all human subjects studies unless they're COVID related. But then he started them up again, the non-COVID human subjects just recently, and he restricts it to 2 people. Let's see, I think there's 3 people at any one time for sleep studies. So there's the human subject, and he needs to have 2 technicians there, but they distance. So, you know, we were talking to him about how we do our, we did the same thing. I mean, we had an ACA grant, and, you know, we haven't had a human for 6 months. So we've been talking about how we would do it, and the way we're going to try is just that, limiting the number of people and distancing to the extent that you can. So, but I would recommend that Sai is the one who has the best insight, because he's seen it at both ends.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments on that, David or Ashwani? So Jason Wertheim is the Associate Dean for Research at the College of Medicine. So if you have any insight.
Was having a question, like because we didn't really started our research work yet, but maybe in next week, like we will resume our research work actively. But one question was that, like, I don't get any update from Bio5 on my email. So it seems like my email is not in their list. Like for example, this Zoom meeting, like I go, like Jason forwarded me this email, then I signed up. So okay. How I can, like, my email can be included so that I can get day-to-day update and any event or anything.
I think I saw Regina taking notes right there.
Okay.
Or maybe it was Amy. So yeah, we'll make sure that we've got you on the email list. And if anybody else, so you know, part of the issue is that we maybe don't know what we don't know. So if you have any members of your team and any of you all that aren't getting emails, you can go ahead. Is there a general email that they can send a request to get
Not
on the
yet, like, no.
The general email would be events, plural, at bio5.org, if to request to be put on. But, yeah. And I can certainly send you an invitation in your email.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And we want people to be informed, and that's how we do that. We also have Keating and BSRL lists as well, you know, for things that particularly affect members who sit in one of those 2 areas. But communication is always a challenge, right? It's hard. We've got members all over the state, and we want to make sure that we reach them all. And so,
Dr. Barton, I'd like to interrupt really quickly. I just wanted to make sure everybody saw that in the chat, that you can also email support@bio5.org. And that will cover the Keating building list, and as well as the faculty listserv. And we tend to, and if you put in the request for events, we'll make sure the events team is notified as well. So it's probably like a one-stop shopping to make sure you kind of get you know, we kind of talk amongst the team to make sure everybody's there. So Robert is also on there on the support, Robert and his team. So if you email support@bio5.org, we can make sure that you get on the Keating building list and the BSRL building list as well. So
sounds good. And also, like, one thing more, like, as you just informed us for sign up sheets and like Google document, so I also don't know about those. So if I can get like some information about those, so it will be helpful.
Oh, so the Google Calendar was just for my lab. I just created a tissue optics lab. That's what I call my lab, Google Calendar, and I invited everybody. In fact, I ended up inviting everybody. I sit on the north side of the first floor of BSRL. And so since, you know, it's not that big of a space, we all pass each other. I actually just ended up inviting everybody to, you know, if there's anybody going to be in the shared space that we might bump into. But I just did that on my own, that's free. Slack is also free, although if you want to keep a history, you end up eventually having to pay for it, but it's not very much at all.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
David, you unmuted. Did you have a comment?
No, I was just saying that, you know, we have a lab of probably about 20 that's been full-time since February, because we're involved not only in the construction of the testing kits for the state, but also doing all the student testing and the athlete testing, and then the banking of all of the COVID samples that comes out of ED, ICU, and the clinics. So there's no way we can social distance, but we are very strict on wearing proper PPE at all times. And every place you go, you sit down or you walk, there's some way to wash your hands or to use ethanol or bleach or whatever. So it's very strict on that. And then we test multiple times a week. Everybody gets tested. That's really the only way. And I will say that because we have one person I was just told just a minute ago that may be positive. We try to bubble everybody once they're inside to make sure they don't get out. Undergraduates are the problem, and we may have an undergraduate who's positive. We have had 2 in the past, but we haven't had no intralab spread due to very strict measures in terms of PPE and washing and that sort of stuff. And that's always the problem, that regardless of what you do at the lab, you know, if you release them into the wild, back into the world, if they're not going to follow your recommendations, there's not a lot you can do about it.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you must have gotten an exception in your research checklist to be able to have this less than 6 foot, separation, right?
Yeah,
so,
because we test probably, you know, a couple thousand students, faculty, staff every day. So we had to gear up, and obviously, if the university is going to do any testing, we can't have the facility shut down.
Yeah, so I think I think that the research office and your own ADRs have been pretty interested in helping you be successful. The human subjects, though, is a problem, Yerzy and Esther. I'm in the same boat. I had a instrument ready to go into the operating room and to be used in tests, and got that shut down. So we haven't started that yet again. I think Lauren Zajac is also a good contact if it's actually something involving Banner and going on their facilities.
Jennifer, if I may, it's Ann Worth. I'm sorry I had some horrible technical difficulties.
That's okay, just introduce yourself right quick.
All right, so I'm Ann Wertheimer, a research assistant professor in Bio5 and the director of the Viper Institute. I also run the IDRC, the Infectious Disease Research Corps. And I'm in the process actually of doing some human subjects, a new human subjects project. But I was unsuccessful in being able to work with Banner because of the IRB. But the IRB let me know that if I work with another institution that's open, I can do that. So I'm actually partnering out in California with the University of Southern California and the Salsa Center there to get the specimens that we need. We're gonna have to do MTAs, things like that, but we can get the research done. So they're a collaborator anyways. So it's kind of a win-win situation in a lot of ways, a little bit of paperwork, but they're open to us running the trial, and their hospital is equipped and seeing patients. So it worked. So don't be deterred, just keep pushing, and you can, figure out a way to do your research.
Yeah, I'm sorry that has to involve going out of state. Melissa, do you know, are any of the College of Medicine Phoenix partners, hospital partners open?
Yeah, so 2 things. To go back to your first thing about the communication, Teams is awesome. I don't know if any of you guys are using that, but that's freely available from U of A as well. And so I do that on my, well, you can communicate with Banner too, but also with my team members, it's kind of like texting, you get it instant, but you can also share data, files. It's really, really nice. I think it's very similar to Slack, but you don't have to pay for it. And it's freely available. So I highly recommend it. And I'm not the most tech savvy person. So if you fall into that category, it's actually really intuitive and easy to use. So I wanted to make that comment if you haven't checked out Teams. And you can also do Zooms. And so like if I want to contact someone in my lab, I just hit a button and then it'll pull it up. And if they're at their desk, then I can have a Zoom immediately without setting up a Zoom. So just so you know about that resource. And then going to the human subjects related studies. So we were in the same boat in terms of our non-COVID related studies being kind of on hold. We have partnerships with clinics as well as partnerships with Banner UMCP, which is up here in Phoenix. We've now, I think we're on our 3rd or 4th week of being able to have our clinical research coordinators consent individuals and collect specimens. So we are going forward with those non-COVID related studies. We have adapted a little bit to try to eliminate as much patient contact as possible. Some of our studies are in the surgery suite. So, you know, it's a very sterile environment. Everyone's tested for COVID prior to surgery. So we think we have a good working environment in that regard. And then another thing that we've implemented is e-consenting. So you can e-consent so that you don't have to have contact with that patient. So your clinical research coordinators can actually contact an individual, e-consent them, and then that's all done in a contactless way. And so that's really streamlined things. And then with some of our clinical partners, we've had to evolve to what they're doing at their sites. And then one of our studies is under review right now to move to more of a self-collection versus a physician-collected study. So I think you have to get creative in ways that, you know, can facilitate your research in this COVID era, because it's not going away anytime soon. So I think we have to kind of be creative in that regard. So hopefully that helps, that information. But I think the e-consent is a really nice way to kind of move forward and eliminate or reduce kind of that patient contact.
Do you have a link to the e-consent to share with us so that we could obtain those?
I don't, but I could get that information to you. Who's asking? Sorry.
I'm sorry, it's Ann Wertheimer. I don't have video because of the technical difficulties, but
okay. Yeah. So I can get that information, yeah. And the IRB is allowing us to kind of move that way too. So I think they've really helped to facilitate that as well.
Okay, as long as they know where the e-consent forms are, that would be awesome. I was going to do telephone, but yeah, that's a better idea.
So Melissa, just by way of clarification, there's a paper consent form that we had approved by IRB. So now we just send it electronically and people can sort of electronically sign it, quote unquote.
I believe there's a process. You have to go through and amend your IRB protocol to allow for e-consenting. Yeah, and it is very new. So I think it's, you know, it's a new process that's being embarked on. So, you know, there are some hitches and things like that that you have to work through. But I think once you get that process in place, then it can be really nice.
Yeah, great suggestion. Thank you.
So the Biobank has actually used the e-consent for about 5 years now. It's based in REDCap, so it is PHI protected, one of the few databases. It has the advantage that when somebody signs a consent on the E, it actually sends them an email with their copy of the consent, because we're supposed to, but no one ever does, give the subject an actual copy of the consent. And now you can do away with the paper, and then by having it in REDCap, you can actually sort and link that to demographic surveys. And that works very well up in the ICU where we work, because the docs don't want to go into the room more than once. And so we can actually send it into a device, have them sign it and come back out. So when they go in one time, that's all they have to do. They don't have to spend time, you know, explaining the study or having them, you know, helping them assist them in signing the consent and that sort of thing. So we have, that's worked very, very well. It actually works better than just sending them a link or sending them an attachment. Actually having it in the PHI protected really gives you that additional issue or additional protection that the IRB is looking for your consents.
Thanks. I think one of the things I wanted, we'll pause for a commercial break here. I wanted to let all of you know there's a virtual Bio5 membership meeting coming up on October 30th. You may have seen the email go out, and Ashwani, hopefully we'll get you on the email list and you'll see the next reminder that comes out. Amy, if you have a chance to put that up in chat, please do register for that when you have a chance. You know, we used to have membership meetings frequently, and I think, you know, one of the good things about the Zoom format is that we're learning how to be more effective and more inclusive, because it's, you know, when you have a meeting in Keating 103, it's really convenient for the people in Keating, but not so convenient for the people across campus or across the state. Speaking of which, Robin Pult, I see you're on. Welcome. We were discussing ways to make sure that we're effective and safe in our research labs. Do you have any thoughts on how things are working in your own?
Thanks for reaching out. Well, what we've been doing basically is just expanding our hours of research into the wee hours. And so our workday is no longer, you know, 8, 10, 12 hours, but we have people working pretty much all around the clock. And so typically we've got a pretty good sized lab relative to a lot of the biological labs. And we're looking at no more than 3 people in the lab at the same time, which gives each one of them about 500 to 700 square feet. Masking, very strict about that. And when we have our group meetings, we start off every group meeting with a synopsis of COVID infections in the county, just to kind of keep people aware that if one of them gets sick, they're going to close everybody down. And that may be, I don't know, bullying in a sense, but, you know, I would rather have them feel a little bit bullied and not get sick. But so far, so good.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I think, you know, creating a culture where people understand their responsibility, let's call it that, you know, that their actions affect more than just themselves, and also complete honesty, I think is really good. I've had one person in my lab get sick. They were very forthcoming about it, and, you know, let me know immediately that they weren't feeling well. And just, you know, interesting point, in fact, this person found out that they had been around somebody else who tested positive. They stopped coming into the lab immediately. A couple days later, they didn't feel well. They went in, got a test, it was negative. That was a Friday. They went on a Monday, got a test, it was negative. They went on Tuesday, got a test, it was negative. He was really sick. Went in on Wednesday, got a test, he was positive. So, you know, because he had, you know, immediately admitted that he had had that exposure, stopped coming into the lab, tested repeatedly. Yeah, to my knowledge, there's still no cases of infection spread because of a research situation. It's all been people.
No, I think it's all off campus. One thing that we've done, and I don't know how this would affect most of the Bio5 people, but we've been using a lot more calculational stuff, particularly with undergraduates who would normally come in the lab and make starting material for us. They wind up getting a calculation project so they can work remotely using our software. That's turned out to be really popular. So popular, in fact, that I'm worried about them overrunning our laboratory operation. I'm trying to get the department to buy into paying for some software so that undergraduates can do this as a course. And of course, that's that's an uphill battle. But we pay a fair amount of money to have access to Mo, And there's a lot of interest in doing this because people can work remotely on it and be part of research. But it's getting to be a little bit taxing, I think, in terms of number of people.
I'm not familiar with Mo. Is that a computational platform?
Right. It's for making you know, if you want to download X-ray coordinates of a receptor and then dock drugs to it, that sort of thing. The nice thing about Mo, and a lot of people say, well, I don't know why you'd want to spend $3,000 a year for this stuff. I can get all this free. Yeah, if you're a computer genius and you enjoy working with computers, you can do that. And you can change the oil in your car too, if you like to do that. But the nice thing about Mo is it has this beautiful support network of tutorials and seminars, and even have a little publishing platform. And so people, it's basically self-taught. Once you get the program installed and running, you just ask Mo, how do I use you? You know, and it has tutorials that will lead you from just drawing a cyclohexane ring to designing drugs. And that's the beauty of the thing. And I think a lot of people don't get it yet. Some people are starting to catch on.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, it's a tool just like anything else, right? It's just a software tool.
Exactly.
Well, great. So other thoughts, people, things they found that work well in their lab or things they've struggled with? How about our new people? That would be, let's see, Chris and Ashley, and Ashwani. How are things going setting up your labs under these somewhat crazy circumstances?
It's a little challenging. I think the biggest challenge for us is training new people. I have 2 graduate students and a technician, all with some experience, but not a tremendous amount. So teaching them new techniques and how things work in my lab has been a little bit of a challenge. We kind of tag team things a lot. I try to instill in them the importance of their outside life and bringing that into the lab. And they so far have all been really responsive to that. They, you know, maintain social distance and don't party with the undergrads. So we've had good luck there, but that I think has been the biggest challenge. You know, we are in the lab alternating schedules. I'm here a lot, so I can be here to answer questions if they have them as they are doing experiments. That's why I had to just run to the lab to check on some cells for a student. But we, you know, we keep hand sanitizer at every door. We ethanol all the door handles, the water spout turnies, everything every day, sometimes multiple times throughout the day. But I think that the biggest challenge for me has just been training new people in this situation.
Yeah, anybody have any good ideas on that one? Because I struggle with that one too. I mean, it's hard to show somebody how to align an optical setup from 6 feet away, because you're kind of like, no, touch that knob. No, 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 that knob, that knob. You know, so we did get an exception to violate the 6-foot rule. But in that case, everybody wears N95s and gloves and goggles, and sanitizes everything before and afterwards. And that still makes me a little uncomfortable though. Anybody else have any great ideas there? I think it's something everybody struggles with. One of the things I do that I've learned with painful experience over the years is that if I have somebody who builds an instrument or, you know, learns a procedure or figures out how to disassociate cells, I make them write a very detailed standard operating procedure on it. And then have somebody who hasn't done it read it, because it usually makes sense to the person who wrote it and not anybody else. You know, that's helpful for all kinds of reasons, of course, but it also helps then with training the next person. Yeah, so you know, brought up something about having people work all hours of the day. How do you all handle safety? Do you have anybody doing any procedures with, you know, chemicals or biohazards or lasers or anything that are unsafe? and they're in a room that's 100 square feet and have to be by themselves. How do you handle that safely?
So for us on the all hours, they have to text me no matter what time it is when they leave. So
checking in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever my people are using any biohazardous material, they have to have 2 people at least present. So there's no risk that somebody's going to be alone.
And you have rooms that are big enough to accommodate people, 2 people?
Yeah, or somebody else is at their desk. You know, they would be doing work away from that particular area. So yeah.
Got it. Zillian, did you have a thought?
I was just gonna say that we have a little WhatsApp channel where we check in with each other, but we've our lab is all women, so we decided that we're gonna do our best to work within, you know, daytime hours, and unless there's a specific need to come to the lab after hours, we made an agreement that we're gonna check in, we can video chat the whole group actually anytime using WhatsApp. And we also discussed safe ride, you know, like, or just call EAPD if you just feel like you can't walk to your car by yourself, you know, because that's, you know, we don't work with really dangerous chemicals or equipment, but I thought about the predators out there more than the chemicals in the lab, so to keep them safe.
Excellent point.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because campus is not populated like it normally would be, where other people could see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we in my lab we instituted a you know, having somebody on Zoom being okay as well. So yeah, we'll, you know, say, okay, I'm going to come in on Sunday afternoon and align the laser, which is something normally we wouldn't let people do by themselves. But, you know, we'll just set up, you know, just prop their phone over there and we can watch and check in once in a while. And, you know, somebody is home doing, you know, home stuff on Sunday afternoon. It's not that big of a burden to just, you know, check over there once in a while and make sure that the person's okay. Yeah, so those are, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Real quick, with regards to after hours safety, there's also the Live Safe app that the university has, that's on Google and Android, or Apple and Android. The Live Safe app will connect you directly to the police. It also has a built-in feature for Walk Safe. So if you're walking from, say, your car or from work to your car, you can check in with a buddy and they can follow your progress as you go. And then when you get to your car, you can tell them you're safe if you're safe. Just wanted to make sure people know that there's that feature already as part of the university.
Yeah, I've used that app and it's really good because they kind of calculate how long it should take you, because you tell them from where you're going to where, and it kind of gives you like a time that you need to make it to the other place, and if you don't, it starts counting down before it calls the police. So it's pretty cool.
Thank you, Regina. If you're not checking the chat, you might want to pop up the chat window, because there's some good links in there that are coming up, including the Live Safe link. Perfect. All right. Well, we've got about 15 minutes left. What questions do you all have? What, you know, besides an opportunity to see maybe a couple of faces you haven't seen in a while, you know, why did you join today? What can we talk about? Let's see. I'll pick on people who just joined and haven't introduced themselves yet. Laura, Meredith, how are you doing? I love your picture. It looks like you're having fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hi, I'm good. I just got back from sampling at Biosphere 2, so I wasn't camera ready yet, but I'm an assistant professor in natural resources and the environment, and my lab's on the second floor along with the ecosystem genomics cluster, and we look at soil microbial communities and try to link their genes to their ability to cycle trace gases. So we have a lab that does sort of gas analysis, laser alignment is very familiar to me. And then also we're doing soil RNA, DNA extractions. Yeah, I think things are going pretty well. I don't really know if I have specific questions. It's definitely been a challenge with some time-sensitive samples that we had. We really wanted to do RNA extractions, and we kind of had to hold off on those for a while, but have found the right assemblage of people in the lab who are able, with their personal life, to do work in the lab and are getting them trained, and so are sort of picking that back up. So in some ways, I think following the restarting research, they're not normal, but we're starting to be in the lab more frequently. And I also, yeah, I guess I'm training a student on an analyzer, and so we've just sort of been, 6 feet, shifting back and forth to point at things and do things, and so it's been going pretty well. So I don't know if I have anything else to add.
Let's see, Jody, how are you doing? How's everything going in your facility?
Everything is going well in our facility. What we've been doing is having people come in. I have undergraduate students. They all live very carefully. It's been reiterated to them many times that if you don't want to live that way, then you're really not welcome. We did have one COVID scare with one of our undergraduates, but he tested negative eventually. It was more of a gastrointestinal upset than the COVID issue. He was tested multiple times. Robert and I talked about it, and we decided that he couldn't come back until he tested negative, and he was out at least 10 days to 2 weeks and tested negative. And so we said, okay, fine. He tested negative. We said, no, you're going to have to wait anyway. This was several months ago. So everything is well. I stagger the students. One is leaving, one is coming in. Tamara is working from home as much as possible. I'm coming in 5 days a week because I am the production manager to make sure everything is sorted out and we can keep our orders going out to our customers, our Bio5 and across campus customers on a regular basis, keep our due dates set where they need to be. So everything's going well right now. Thank you for asking, Jennifer. Really appreciate it.
And Victor, welcome. How's it going in your lab?
We're working part-time, but of course, I have, as you know, I like to work with young students, and I have 4 new ones, but I can't do anything with them because we are not allowed to have people come into our lab that aren't trained. And I don't know how long that's going to last, but we have distancing and all this stuff, and so things are operating again. But the United States blew it, and we're still don't know what we're going to do with the virus. It's America's just behaving terribly, and that goes for our university as well. So it's been kind of a disaster, but hey, we're still alive. And I don't have the virus. I've been tested a couple of times. Yeah. In my laboratory, we work on chemical biology, and we're primarily interested in the relationship between the brain and the body, which is called via hormones and neurotransmitters and their receptors. And so it covers virtually all of our major diseases, our major behaviors, everything from learning behavior to sexual behavior to feeding behavior and so on and so forth. So, and we have lots of collaborators on campus, as you know, and elsewhere in the world. So we keep, we keep in touch, but it's not the same. I'm a people person, and I prefer to work face to face with people, which I have all my life, and that's what I prefer to do. But now that's not possible, and I think Zoom is like the entire internet, is a disaster. So, but that's all we got, so we have to live with our disasters. Okay, that's about it. Everything's okay. I'm alive and kicking.
That's great, Victor. Yeah, I think that about sums it up. You know, we may have a disaster going on, but we're learning how to live with it. And I appreciate everybody's thoughts on how they're managing. Laura, I'm sorry, Zillian, I see your question about how to work. I mean, this is true in many buildings on campus where there were common areas. And I think it's, you know, so ironic that one of the things we love about our new interdisciplinary buildings is how open they are and how there's all this interaction and this working together and sharing of equipment and efficiencies through all of that. And yet nowadays that's a liability. So, you know, how, especially in BSRL where these clusters of 4 that are very close together, I think you really do have to treat those people as members of your lab as well. I see, Ashley, thank you for responding that you have a Google Calendar and try to accommodate people, because if you compute, you know, most of us don't have the luxury of 500 square feet per person. If the university's kind of metric is 144 square feet, which if you take one of those big areas, still doesn't allow that many people to work in there. So you're kind of having to negotiate with people from other labs as well on timing. And Esther, sounds like you've worked it out pretty well just by kind of treating it as one group. I haven't actually noticed that it's been that overcrowded yet because so many people are working effectively, or at least working from home. But I think it will become an increasing problem as we still have density restrictions and we have more people wanting to come in. So yeah, would you recommend having a calendar for the larger open space? Yeah, I think so. We got to get everybody's buy-in. And Zealand, you're going to have, you know, great neighbors, right? You've got Mark Van Dyke coming soon, who is the Associate Dean for Research in the College of Engineering, and Travis Sawyer, who is setting up his lab. Elizabeth Hutchinson, right, is your other neighbor? Yeah. So, you know.
Just in terms of the open spaces, so we work on the impact of the built environment on health, well-being, and performance, and with the U.S. General Services Administration and other standard-setting organizations for healthy buildings. And you know, there was originally some debate as to the effects of open spaces on spreading COVID, and it turns out that open spaces are probably better than a closed single office where you end up having 2 people close together. The issue is the ventilation systems. I would recommend that you talk to Angie Souza, because Angie, who's the, I don't know what she's the space lady for health sciences or the whole university?
Health sciences. Yeah.
Health sciences. So the new HSIB building has a lot of open spaces for exactly what you're talking about, for networking and all that. What she did is she arranged the furniture in such a way that it's not possible to be closer than the 6 feet. And also taking into account the ventilation system. So, and Chris Kopak, we're working with Chris Kopak as well, who's head of facilities for the university, and you know, they're very cognizant of how the ventilation and blowing from, you know, the intake and then the output of the ventilation could spread the virus. But in an open space, it's actually better because it gets diffused. So, you know, arranging the furniture is the easiest way to passively make sure that people are, you know, distancing.
Great, yeah, and I know that the facilities management has done some upgrades across campus, but clearly ventilation is better in some of our buildings than others.
Yeah, and they're looking into other, I don't know if anybody on the call here is working on this, but I know they're looking on using, I think it's zinc sprays on MERV 8. Right now the recommendation is MERV 13 filters for the ventilation, but that makes it very hard to blow air through. So they're testing whether spraying zinc as an antiviral on MERV8 filters will work.
So one of the nice
So
things
they
that,
have the answer. Yes.
one of the nice things in Keating and BSRL is Keating, the labs are 100% outside air, where the air changes 12 to 15 times an hour. And in BSRL, the lab and the office area is 100% outside air.
That's
where the air-
fantastic. I mean, wow.
Yeah, it's not quite so nice on some of our older buildings, unfortunately. Great. Robin, I wanted to let you know, I see your comment about library resources, Scopus being a replacement for Web of Science. I think that's a really excellent question. And Amy, maybe we can make resources a topic for a future meeting, because that's going to take more than a couple minutes to get into that one. Yeah, along with the budget cuts, there's clearly been, a decrease. Well, we've been having our library resources, although they're still quite awesome, but they are getting cut. In our last couple of minutes, is there any other last things that people want to say?
Well, I could chime in for just a second. A few minutes ago, you'd asked about the experiences of the new folks and why I joined in the call. And so for those who weren't on at the beginning, I'm a plant chemical ecologist and a new member of Bio5. And I'm in unique, I don't know if it's unique position, but I have a lot of data that I have been working to analyze. And so even though I'm a wet lab scientist who does mass spec work and RNA-seq and those sorts of things, I haven't even bothered to try to build a lab, partly because I'm new and recruiting new people means I have to train new people, and the concerns that you all have expressed about training someone from 6 feet when they're trying to learn how to pipette or anything with wet technique has just been prohibitive for me at the moment. And so, doing dry lab data analysis has been sort of central to what I've done since I've been here. But the other reason that I joined in the call is that one of the challenges that I've faced is making contact and connections with the group, with people in this community, because this has obviously strained the ability to make those sorts of new connections. And so I appreciate hearing all of the trials, tribulations, and successes of those who have active labs. So that's why I've chimed in and appreciate the opportunity to listen and learn.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you taking some time this morning. It's great to see you and hear your voices, and best wishes in crazy times. Get out there, be safe. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.